Welcome back to CoverStory Highlights, and this is constituency polling analysis, raw, unapologetic, and grounded in truth. But before we dive into today's numbers, let me first address a few curious minds who have been asking about our methodology in the last video. Our polling was conducted on July 24 to July 30, and we use a combination of phone and in-person interviews. Most of our data was collected through phone calls, which allows us to reach a sample size of registered voters who have indicated that they are sure that they will vote for one of the two major political parties. We also carried out some face-to-face interviews in selected market districts in major parish capitals. Now, a quick note. Our sampling method was one that is called in polling convenience sampling. We know the limitation with this method of sampling. We know it is less reliable than, say, for example, random sampling. But of course, it's the best available sampling method to us, given our limited resource capacity. Our poll consisted mainly of closed-end questions. That is, questions that gives a yes or no answer. We also use some multiple choice question in certain instances. Our sample size was relatively small by any polling standard. We polled 200 registered voters in the constituencies. This means that the margin of error is fairly high in comparison to other pollings that are done using strict scientific methods. One thing is for sure, the result of our poll still give valuable insight into voter sentiment at this time going into a general election. With that said, let me get into the numbers, and today we look at 2 seats in Kingston and 6 in St. Andrew. We kick off in Kingston Western, where the JLP's Desmond McKenzie is dominating with 79.6%, while his PNP challenger Joseph Witter is polling at 20.4%. This is a safe Jamaica Labour Party seat. In Kingston Central, the PNP's Steve McGregor, former superintendent of police, is at 55.8%, and is leading the incumbent Donovan Williams of the JLP, who is polling at 44.2%. McGregor looks set to reclaim this seat for the PNP. In St. Andrew Northeast, Delroy Truck edges ahead at 52.1%, while Stacey Knight, the daughter of KD Knight, she sits at 47.9%. This one leans JLP and indeed will be a JLP hold. In St. Andrew Northwest, here is a nail biter. The JLP's Dwayne Smith is polling at 50.3%, and this is almost neck and neck with the PNP's Ethne Miller Simpson, who is polling at 49.7%. Folks, this one is simply too close to call. Remember, this is a seat once held by the former Finance Minister Nigel Clark, who retreated for greener pastures. And yes, greener pastures indeed. Now in St. Andrew West Rural, the People's National Party's Joan Gardner-Webley is polling at 52%. She's ahead of the incumbent Juliet Cuthbert-Flynn, who is polling at 48%. This looks like a potential PNP pickup over there in St. Andrew West Rural. And then in St. Andrew Eastern, another close race. PNP's Patricia Duncan Sutherland She's polling at 52.2%, just slightly ahead of the JLP's Finance Minister Favour Williams, who is polling at 47.8%. If this holds, it will be a major upset in favour of the PNP. In St. Andrew East Rural, the JLP's Juliet Holness, wife of the Prime Minister, is at 48%. She's trailing the PNP's Patrick Peterkin, who is polling at 52%. At this stage, it looks like Peterkin could unseat the Prime Minister's wife. And finally in this episode, in the old Carl Smoother seat, where Delano Seavright was given the nod to represent the party in that constituency, our polling is showing that Seavright is at 65%, while Christopher Henry of the PNP is polling at 35%. That is a safe JLP seat, as we see it here at CoverStory Highlights. From these 8 seats, the PNP is leading in 4, and the JLP is ahead in 4. We will bring you the remaining seats in St. Andrew and the one in Kingston, Eastern and Port Royal in tomorrow's episode, after which we will give you an overall number as to which of the parties is leading in Region 3, as the PNP call it, the mighty Region 3. This has been CoverStory Highlights, raw, unapologetic, and grounded in truth. Remember to hit the subscribe button, like, share, and drop your comments in the section below. Please engage. We want to hear what are your thoughts. Have a good one.